Entering dog zone. Hostiles guarding location nearby. Rogue agent detected. Subject located.
A few weeks ago, we posted a YouTube short and an Instagram reel demoing a chest rig that can mount onto a backpack. And first of all, people assumed three things. Number one, it was our original idea. Number two, it's a product that we sell. And number three, that it was a good idea. The truth is, none of those are strictly true. First of all, let me show you guys what the video is actually demoing. So I have here a Mystery Ranch Urban Assault backpack. It's kind of just a one-day backpack. Pretty good size. I've been a fan of this, been vacationing with it, running around town with it for a long time. But I found a little bit of a hack that it's cool. I don't know if it's necessarily cool enough for everyone to go out and try to mimic on their own. But let me show you real quick. So inside of this backpack, I have medical, a fanny pack that I can actually throw on. Obviously, it doesn't have to go around the backpack, just a general med fanny pack. A Haley Strategic D3CR Micro. Inside of it, I have a flashlight, I have a radio, a Harris radio, one PMag, two Glock mags, and then in the front, an ATAC system. A little bit more on that later as we have some content that we're working on in the background. And then a tourniquet dangling at the bottom and a multi-tool. Pretty simple, compact chest rig. And the way that it works, first, of course, we'll come back to this rifle loadout, this setup as well. Some people had some interesting things to say about it. But the way that it works is I actually put some clips onto these shoulder straps. Now, first of all, people assumed that I did something special with these, but no, not necessarily. I just had some of these extra female clips and I slid them onto my backpack. If you guys have an extra backpack and you have webbing that is on your shoulder straps, you can do the same thing. I love playing with gear and testing to see what works and what doesn't. But once again, that doesn't always mean that it is a perfect system. Just because you came up with something cool and new. Always be testing your gear and trying to add stuff that maybe wasn't designed for it, but run it through a crucible and make sure that it works for you. If you guys are curious about some of the stuff that you can actually play with and tinker with, you should go check out Venture Surplus. They are the sponsor of this episode and they offer a whole ton of good surplus gear. We do have a discount code. We have a link in the description of this YouTube video. So go check it out. In any case, the way that this works is I can throw this backpack on, and because these female clips are already here in the front, I can now run this full system on the backpack. But like I mentioned, there are some downsides as well. Well, what are those downsides? Well, number one, if I do have something in my backpack or I want to take my backpack off and get to it, let's say I have water or a map or anything else back there, now I have to actually take this chest rig off. And there is kind of a cool way that it can stay on, but to get to anything back there, I'm still gonna have to drop one of these or maybe both of them, and then I can get to the backpack. There's a lot of hassle that you're gonna have to do to actually get there and get back there to it. So just because you saw someone do something that's different, and just because you saw something, maybe a new product that got released on the internet, it doesn't always mean that it is a perfect system for you. Now in the video, I do have what is provided when you buy the Haley Strategic D3CR chest rig, which is an X harness. I prefer H harnesses, but running that over my backpack, or I should say under my backpack, means that I could still sling this off and use the system as intended. I'd still have my chest rig on there. It's a cool system, it's a cool idea, and it's an awesome idea for the Division loadout, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's perfect for you. Now, while we're here, let's talk about some of the stuff that I do have in the pack and what all fits in this small little day pack. All right, so let's start with the rifle. This was actually something that was given to us by SIG. This is a Spear LT upper, and the new Spear LTs can actually take AR triggers, which means that you can take one of their uppers and throw it onto an AR lower, as long as you have an adapter back here to work with their recoil system. You got to get your own stock, and this optic was also given to us by them. We only have about 1,000 rounds through this thing at this point. It's a very nice gun. It's a good shooting system. It honestly feels the exact same to me as a Spear LT, which is rad because it's all just contained in the upper portion. If you know how MCXs work, you'd understand that having, the lower portion of the gun really doesn't matter at all. But the thing that a lot of people were curious about was having this light up front, the X300 mounted at 12 o'clock. Well, first of all, it works really well actually because this is designed as a bag gun, the way that it's set up. And if I were to have a light hanging off the side with a bunch of pressure pads or anything like that, it would start to take up more space in different directions as opposed to darn near matching the height of my optic. So that works well. Next, it is an ambidextrous light. I can push it on either side. I can go constant or momentary, just like you would any other X300. And yes, I can see perfectly over the top of the X300 with my optic. This optic is mounted at a lower third. Not sure if I love this optic. We're gonna play with it a little bit more. The Romeo, what is this one? The 4XT Pro has a couple different reticle settings, but this is something definitely to play with as we continue to shoot with it. The stock does fold, and if you didn't know, MCXs can also be shot with the stock folded because the recoil system is all contained in the upper half of the gun. Pretty stellar setup. So if anything, I'd love to add a suppressor to this, but it wouldn't be able to go into the bag with the suppressor as well. So there's the rifle setup. This, as mentioned, is a pretty stellar rig. I've used this a lot as a standalone on plate carriers. And I do have 2 extra Glock mags down here because inside of all of this, I am rocking a Glock. Now, if I was walking around in an urban area and using a setup like this, I don't see myself actually using and carrying a rifle in an urban area in day-to-day life. But here in 2024, we kind of have to think back to the previous election cycle. 2020 was pretty wild, and we may have a repeat of that too. So if you're going to Kenosha or Portland, Oregon, or anything like that, keep in mind that you may want to bring some extra medical, comms, gas masks, self-defense, things like that. And then once again, it all fits in this Mystery Ranch pack. But I have to say, if I were going to be doing some daily work with a pack like this and preparing for scenarios that may show up, let me show you what I would actually be carrying with this one-day pack. Now, obviously, there's a lot of different ways that we can actually pack a backpack. And I know you didn't have to be told that, but if we stay organized at home and we have stuff prepared in, let's say, DACA pouches, we can store a lot of stuff organized, ready to go, so that if a scenario does happen, whether it's medical or the world's falling apart, or you're just going out on the town for a couple days, you can grab the parts that you need, throw them in your backpack, and roll with it. Now, this is something if the world did start to kind of fall apart and I didn't want to be walking around with an overt rifle, this is what I probably would be working with. So on the top here, I have a boonie cap set up with a Tracer tactical rig so that I can wear this with a PVS-14, and I'll show you how that works. I have a counterweight strapped to the backside. So I'm not having to lug around a full helmet, but I can actually work with night vision in a compact way. I have a holster, and I'll show you why here in just a sec, but that's set up to work with a pistol and a suppressor. Here's my PVS-14. I have body armor. This West Coast armor is super thin, really lightweight, and it's compact and it can hide under even just a rain jacket. I don't want to be trying to carry around like level 4 plates all the time, but if I am in an urban area, staying low profile is probably a good call. Medical, once again, that's always going to be a must, and I love having a fanny pack because I can have it on me. I don't have to throw it in an extra, back pocket or something like that. It can always go with me, be tied around my waist. And then once we get into here, this is where I have some more survival stuff. So in this DACA pouch, I've got a lot of goods. Cane of provisions, water purification system, signal mirror, or even just making sure that I look okay, chapstick, zip ties, it goes on and on. I got a lot of good stuff in here. Batteries, you always need good batteries, a little bit of 550 cord, extra ear pro, chem lights, Sharpie, fire starter, tweezers, electrical tape. I have a nice little DACA pouch of goodies that could pretty much go with me anywhere that I go, get dropped right into the backpack. What else do I have in here? So this is communications and more electronics. So for example, I have an extra battery and a Baofeng. The antenna is in here as well. If I have to hand this off to somebody or even just turn it on, listen to the news, listen to weather, at least I have a system for that. I also have a Garmin GPS. Obviously, if cell phones go down, I can still turn this on. There's a lot of data saved inside of this thing, and I can still gather information. It's better than having a paper map at times. That being said, sometimes having a paper map is good too, but I like having that GPS disconnected from a cell phone. A rangefinder. This is Leupold rangefinder. Why do you need this? Well, even if I'm not trying to range something, I'm still getting 3 times or 8 times or 10 times magnification, depending on the model that you buy. And just being able to see something a little bit further away is freaking awesome. It can hide in your hand. You can actually see something, PID stuff at distance. That's a big win. And then here's something else you guys may not always think about. This is something that's wise to have even if you're not going out with nefarious intentions. A battery bank of some kind. So I have a battery bank that's strong enough to actually jump a car. I have cables in here that can charge just about any iPhone, any of my GPSs, any of this other stuff. More cables to charge, like if I have an ATAC phone or something like that. I've got a lot of ability in here to everything from jump a car, charge my phone, charge my GPS. This is something that's good to have in your car or in a backpack, regardless of where you're going, what's happening, even just going on vacation. Good idea to have. And then of course, as opposed to having something like a rifle, some extra Glock magazines, and something to make your everyday carry pistol work just a little bit better. We can't show all of these two going together on YouTube, but for those of you that have not seen the tape trick, once the threads are actually started, pretty simple. That tape just runs the thread straight down, and now I have a full-length suppressor on the end of my EDC gun. That's a pretty stellar setup. It's worth having if you're going to be doing stuff in an urban area in the dark, obviously with night vision. It's a lot better than just trying to carry around a 300 blackout rifle, in my opinion. This Q Erector suppressor was given to us by Q. It's an awesome option. There's a lot of good suppressor pistols out there. Do some research, figure out what works for you, but this is a pretty stellar setup. As long as your gun does function with the ammo that you're going to be carrying with it. Oh, and that does remind me, if you are trying to ensure that your firearm is going to be cycling properly with a suppressor, with different kinds of ammo, whether it's a rifle or a handgun, you should go check out the Sonoran Desert Institute. They're a company that offers gunsmithing. They have a lot of stellar information, good customer service. They're the sponsor of this episode. We have a bunch of information down in the description where you can go check them out, a link for their website. So if you are curious about topics like this and getting products to run together, go check out SDI, the Sonoran Desert Institute. So all things being considered, this backpack is just a small little day backpack. You can carry around a whole ton of stuff and mix and match parts and pieces together for a long time. I've thought about having like 6 different backpacks that can do different things, when in reality, it's a lot easier to have one pack that can host a lot of different parts and pieces and stay flexible for me. You just need to stay organized at home and make sure that you know what to grab and what parts run together in case you do need it. Now, let's take a minute and actually go through what I do tend to carry on a day-to-day basis using this as a extended EDC backpack. At the end of the day, guys, carrying all this sort of stuff is not very realistic. It would take a lot of horrible scenarios to be compounded on top of each other for us to actually need some of these items on a daily basis. And we have seen that kind of stuff happen in the past, but realistically, what do I actually carry in a backpack like this? $200 cash. That's actually realistic. You know, cards are declined, things fail. Once again, obviously medical every day, no matter what. That general DACA pouch with the ability to filter water, start fire, barter or trade with some of these items if need be. gloves, because what if you're changing a tire and there's sharp objects that you're working with? It's a good idea to have gloves. I like to keep my feet warm and dry. Good wool socks go with me, an extra pair, whether they're in the car or in a backpack. A Faraday bag is a good thing to have. I'll just kind of leave that at that. If you don't know what a Faraday bag is, hit Google and you'll start to understand why, but having the ability to make sure devices are not sending out information, even if you're not worried about EW stuff, electronic warfare kinds of things, having the ability to 100% kill a device, it's a good call. The ability to charge and recharge items, that same battery bank tends to go with me everywhere. Again, if I have to jump a car or recharge my phone, we need energy these days. And then finally, a computer. If I'm going out and meeting people, if I'm having meetings, I can write stuff down, I can hop online. You know what a computer is, I don't have to explain it. Last two items for you. If our phones do go down or a computer doesn't work, something to write on and something to write with. It's kind of nice that I have a compass velcroed onto that as well. And maybe you are changing a tire and you do need gloves, or maybe you're just having to walk somewhere in the middle of the night, having a red headlamp. These are items that are worth having to just kind of supplement and do extra life with. You'll notice I'm not walking around with an extra rifle, an extra gas mask, night vision. These are just things that help me stay doing day-to-day life, make sure I can get home to my wife and kiddo every single day. Now, all that being said, guys, we don't want all of this to always come across as doom and gloom. We're gonna have a lot more fun, lighthearted content coming up in the near future. But in the meantime, thank you so much for your support. Stay safe. If you want to support us, you can check us out on Patreon. We do sell merchandise, things like hats, t-shirts, beanies on our website. And thank you again to our sponsors. Take care, guys. I can do this all day. No, I can't.